What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Keeping It Real podcast. And today I have a guest with me who I've actually met early in my journey as an entrepreneur getting into this online marketing space. Originally, I think saw him or met him through my friend Yazir. This is probably 2017. And, the first time we met was at Jason Capital's event. And what I like about this podcast is this is not just an opportunity for me to introduce you guys to entrepreneurs, but it's also a way for me to catch up with people I haven't talked to in a long time. So today, I'm going to get to learn a little bit more about Blake, just ask him questions on what he's been doing. I know you were traveling for a bit. I know you live in Puerto Rico. We're going to touch on all of that. But without further ado, I want to introduce you guys to Blake. Blake Toves, is that how you pronounce your last name, bro?
Yep, that's exactly how you pronounce it. Thank you.
Perfect, man. Perfect. So Blake, man,
That's
go ahead and give like a mini introduction of, who you are, what you do, then we'll get on with the podcast, brother.
Yeah, absolutely. Just short introduction. Grew up in Oklahoma, small town. Mom, dad had me at a teenage age, and they say you can only do two things in small towns as a teen: make babies or do drugs. Luckily, I'm the product of both. So, no, I'm just kidding. I don't think they did drugs, but
Oh my God.
I went ahead and learned about online marketing after getting Ty Lopez's ad. And at that point, I had been fed up with like the college thing because they're trying to make me do gen ed classes, and I'm over here wanting to learn about entrepreneurship. So tried the network marketing, selling shakes, failed miserably. And then I tried SMMA, failed miserably because of how I was reaching out to people, just doing the door knocking, wearing a ill-fitting suit in the summer heat, knocking doors
I
with
remember
broke
that.
ass business owners that have never seen over 200 grand in their bank account in their life, that are just, chilling, doing their small time thing. I had zero situational awareness of what millionaire businesses needed or wanted. And it wasn't until I actually flew out to Hollywood and went over to Ty Lopez's house, got around, Jason Capital, got around a bunch of these other players to just realize, wow, it's actually a lot simpler to make money online than people make it out. You just have to acquire some skills. And then it just sucks that a lot of people, they have terrible partners. And so they can't have really lucrative profit sharing deals, which is what I ran into in the last 2 years, was a very lucrative profit sharing deal that put me in a position to move out here to Puerto Rico. So
Mhm.
that's where I'm at now, man.
Awesome, and thank you for the short, brief introduction of yourself, and just telling that even with me, man, I started with Ty Lopez as well, so it's always good to hear that. I feel like he's the
Yep.
guy. It's a lot of people I've met in the marketing space. They all say they started with the Ty Lopez SMMA course or the 67, so that's always interesting to me. But let's talk about where you're at right now, man. Puerto Rico. I know there's a big tax incentive to move out there. Was that one of the main reasons you moved out there, and how do you like living out there?
Yeah, good spot. Anybody, if you're listening to this and you're in the United States, it's like the only spot you can go to get 0% taxes on capital gains. So if you're a trader, it's literally your paradise. And then if you're a business owner like me, I don't do really any trading at all. 100% of your income, well, only 2% goes to the government in this area. All right, of your business income. If you make over 3 million, only 4%. So now that we got the tax benefits out of the way, the trade-offs are: you got to live here for 6 months out of the year. You got to learn Spanish to some degree, or else people will give you a funny look. And you have to enjoy being on the beach for most of the year and being out in the sun, getting grounded to the earth in its human residence, and super fresh air and fresh food. So if that's a problem for you, then you should probably go somewhere else.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I talked to Hayden the
Yeah.
other week as well, and I know he's out
Oh
in Puerto
yeah.
Rico. Yeah. He was telling me a little bit more about that. Yeah, how you liking the trade-off, man? Just being in Puerto Rico versus, I think, where were you living most? Were you spending most of your time in California before?
Yeah, for 2 years of my life. And I think the decision comes down to like, what are your current values right now? And so if your values are community and connection, and you have a lot of that for where you're at right now, and you've built up a good social circle, a good network that feeds you, that gives you, the life force to keep building, all right, keep progressing in life, you feel like you're growing, then it could be difficult to get away from that. But for me, I necessarily didn't have any like social circle built in my immediate vicinity. I lived with my girlfriend for 2 years, and just had my business partner and a couple friends here and there that lived out in Las Vegas, where I spent 2020 and 2021. So when I moved out here, I didn't have any friends. There's actually three people I knew that lived out here. Trevor Burke, who is uh, he was doing credit courses. Tanner Plains, of course you know Tanner, and
Yeah,
then
yeah,
Hayden.
yeah,
Those are the three cats that I knew. And there's some other people I've met along the way as well that are in our space of digital marketing,
yeah.
various aspects, but a lot of crypto investors. And so it piqued my interest into the crypto world, and I got connected with a lot of very wealthy and young people, and just going to these events where they're talking about all these big ideas. It's a good environment if you are growth oriented and you're into those sort of subjects.
Right. No, I can definitely see that. I mean, like you said, it's a heaven for traders, right? So if you're doing crypto or trading, I mean, I think one of my trader friends as well, Trader Kang, he's out there. I don't know where in Puerto Rico, but I know
Yeah,
he says,
yeah. I was
yeah,
just texting him. He got back last night, and
yeah,
or not last night, like the other day, and yeah, he's a party animal. I love him.
yeah, yeah, he is, man. I haven't seen bro in like actually, you know what? Where I met you is where I met Trader Kang, Jason Capital's event. Now that I
Oh,
remember,
okay.
yeah, bro. And then
He
I
was
got
there. Okay, I'll have
yeah,
to.
he was,
That's
bro.
news
He
for me.
was. And the way I got to meet him was, I think, after I knew one of the speaker, J Max, and
Mhm.
he asked me, he's like, "Yo, if you want to
Yeah.
come to dinner with some speakers," I was like, "I'm down." And then Trader Kang was there, and then we connected. And it's funny because I think the first place we went to a random club in Newport, and I was
Yeah.
18 then. And then I remember I still showed my card. I'm like, fuck it, I'll try to get in, man. I was like, shit, whatever. And he let me in. And I remember we were just chilling with Trader Kang and Broski was breakdancing. That shit caught me off guard when Broski just started breakdancing. I was like, yo, this is lit. So shout out Trader
Yeah.
Kang, man. I had to share that real quick. But
Yeah, definitely. It's
yeah,
crazy how
currently
events like
you go
that can
on.
change you.
Oh, for
Okay.
real, man. The
Yeah.
people that you meet, like what you learned, that was, I would say, out of all the events I've been to, that has always stuck out to me of like being my favorite. Like I was very present there. I
Mhm.
think the energy was high. Jason definitely knows to, how to run a good event. I got to give him props on that. But
Yeah.
yeah, wanted to ask, man. I know you've been involved in network marketing, SMMA. What is your current main focus? Like, what is it that you do right now?
Yeah. So I dropped the agency model like back in 2019 because I
Mm-hmm.
was hopping around from niche to niche. And what I didn't realize is the incredible case study that I had before working with Ricky Gutierrez and TechBud Solutions. I had this cool chatbot do some work and get their sales up. And then, working with Ty, like I had a case study and the rep to accelerate my career. I just didn't take advantage
Mm-hmm.
until middle of 2019. I sent out an email and I connected with the guy who's a YouTuber, and then we launched his programs, started selling them through direct messages. Well, he actually already had a program, but we launched new ways of selling them. So hired some VAs, got my girlfriend at the time to help me sell in the DMs, and then yeah, that evolved into us launching a coaching program along with hiring some sales reps. And in March or April 2020, yeah, we really accelerated the coaching program and brought on more reps, more sales team leaders, and it grew pretty quick. So we had 3 sales team leaders at one point with 20 closers and a team of setters and outbound prospecting people, and it was cool. I was like in 2 masterminds, learning about how to manage this, and I got a lot of experience from that, uh, working as more of like a ops head or head of growth,
Mm-hmm.
right? And yeah, it was cool. We were able to hit, our first million month in December 2020. Was it 2020? Yeah, 2020. And it was actually a million two. And we went from 500 being our best month to a million two. And then we had 2 or 3 more months of million months. And then overall selling about, it's on my most recent post about head of growth training. I train people on how to do this now. Uh, but we made 6.9 million before we had to really slow it down, shut it down because of just it was an unsustainable model. Because
Mm-hmm.
with the stock market, right? when people lose interest in the stock market, it becomes unsustainable because you need the community. If you have a
Right.
community element to what you're selling and people cannot get value out of the community, it's much harder to sell. And so closing rate goes
Mm,
down, reps get pissed off, reps leave, they go to better offers. And
right.
so, there's always a life cycle on an offer. There's
Wow.
always, as shitty as it sounds, there's always a life cycle. But there's always a life cycle, and that's the nature of social media marketing. Like, there's techniques that will work, and they'll work for maybe a month, maybe two
Hmm.
weeks. I was just watching this video of this guy. He had a couple of virtual machines popped up, and he was uploading, thousands of YouTube shorts to e-commerce brand. He made 80 grand from that. But then YouTube patched it, so it no longer works.
Hmm.
But there's some things that are really hard to patch, like a solid sales letter and a solid sales team to sell that. So, um, but like Discord, we made 2 mil from Discord.
Wow.
Stuff we did now will not work anymore via
Right.
Discord because of what happened with crypto and all the Discord bots spamming people like crazy.
Yeah, bro, that was,
So
oh my God, the amount of Discord servers I left. And yeah, that's facts, man. That actually did ruin
yeah,
a lot of things. Now I think about it, now I talk about that for sure. Something that you mentioned earlier, which kind of relates to what you just talked about now, is you said once you went to Ty Lopez and kind of started getting into this industry more and learning more, you said you realized things were more simpler than people make it to be, right? And I know you
yep,
mentioned skills acquisition, which I'm big on. I would like for you to touch on that a little bit more, man. Just expand on that, as I believe the people listening usually are existing business owners or aspiring business owners, or entrepreneurs. So I think this would be great to hear from your
yeah.
perspective.
So when I say simpler, I mean this is coming from a guy who I would take modafinil, loads of caffeine, try to enhance my brain in order to consume all the information that I was consuming. It was a wrong approach for going about it. You get the login codes to some site that gives you access to a bunch of courses, and you go through and you go crazy on it. And you don't apply 90% of what you are learning about, and you actively avoid doing the income producing activities, those IPAs
Hmm.
that you should be doing. And so getting really clear on those IPAs and then being honest about how your energy is being used. What I feel is a big pandemic right now is we are really afraid to connect with people, and then we would activate avoidance maneuvers,
Hmm.
activate our you know numb the problem or numb myself so I don't see the problem, which could look like you jerking it off in front of the computer and then losing the life force energy that you need to conduct the rest of your daily activities, and then you put off what you were supposed to do today onto tomorrow and the next week and the next month. That's one. The second is you keep hanging out with the weirdos that are not growth oriented for whatever reason, and that still need to wake up, and you're just getting your time drained over there. And then maybe you got girls around too, or you just are chasing them, and it's not conducive with building your business. And living with like I lived with women for over the last 3 years, probably about 40 to 50% of the time of my
Hmm.
3 year of the last 3 years, 40 to 50% of the time. I have been in the physical presence of a woman living in the household. I could say that my life is a lot better, even though it's in the short term, it sounds like a great idea because it's like, yeah, I can get down to it. You know, and you have this feminine presence and all that. It's really not a good idea, but
Hmm.
especially for young men. Like you need to be cultivating this focus muscle, because what the Chinese are doing with TikTok is taking away your focus muscle. There is this astral bull, you could call it. Like imagine there's this bull, and that bull is you and your drive to want to be passionate about connecting with women and having sex, or maybe just getting into this acquisition mode of like getting things. Okay. That bull, when unrestrained and you don't watch that, you don't still your mind, can get out of hand, and you could have an inflamed nervous system that leads to burnout, or it leads to you know, going like putting on some headphones, listening to Ghost Main, and then just sitting in your room doing nothing for the next, you know, several hours just scrolling through whatever to keep numbing, and you don't go to the gym at all.
Hmm.
So it's like these numbing cycles, these coping mechanisms that people fall into, especially when they first get started, because they acquire all this information and their paradigms getting broken through. And it's not just the information alone that you need. It's like somebody to hold your hand and a tribe of men to help hold you accountable to that. You know, you need coaching. You need a community of people that are like already, you know, where you want to be, or they're on the journey as well. And they can call you out as needed. And whenever, especially whenever you're living with somebody that is like, you know, you're lovey dovey and all that, you don't always address, you know, the shadow aspects of yourself, and you just can sometimes get into the um, cycle of using them as an
Mm-hmm.
escape and not addressing what your true desires are for what you want to build. Because I got 10 younger siblings, man, and
No way,
they're getting
10.
old.
Damn.
Yep. Yep. They're getting old. When I say getting old, they're coming of age. And so, how can I acquire more information, more modalities to make sure that whenever life gives them a platter of shit, they know which way to throw it and they don't just let it sit there because it does happen. And then breath work has been one of the most transformational things.
Mm-hmm.
Breath work, and then, you know, I've been to 4 Joe Dispenza workshops,
Oh,
which
word.
is about 7 days each. And he applies his breath work and meditation methodologies to still your mind, and then your brain turns into a different frequency. Like if you were to hook your brain up to a scanner, it literally moves at a, you know, different frequency, and that gives your cells new information, and your biology is upgraded, and you do not leave the same person as you came in. And so investing in more of those experiences would, like, anybody who's listening to this, whether it's Joe Dispenza or it's Eckhart Tolle or it's, you know, Wim Hof, one of these guys that are putting on an event, you need to go put down 2-3 grand onto one of these events, or do like a one-on-one session. Because, you know, I've done the hypnosis, I've done a lot
Mm-hmm.
of these modalities, and I think the culmination of them all together just helps you readjust your baseline
Mm-hmm.
for what you believe is possible for yourself. It's not
Right.
just like a go on the yacht, experience the yacht, smell the leather, you know, Dan Pena, right? It's not just that you got to do. In the material, you have to literally change your energy about it. You got to change the way your cells are communicating with each other. They got to
Right.
move in union and coherence if you want to come up with the creative ideas that are going to move you forward. If you're living by the hormones of stress and you're taking a pre-workout as soon as you wake up in the morning, and then you're headed to the gym smashing hardstyle music, and then you're jittery for the rest of the day because you didn't do a meditation, that could do well for you stacking on muscle. It did well for me because I just described a scenario that I was doing for several months.
Mm-hmm.
It helped me put on muscle, but I neglected my meditation practice because I was wired and I didn't want to feel like sitting down. So, I mean, for those who are wired and don't feel like sitting down, I mean, you got to do more of the breath work, and you got to
Right.
schedule it in, because that's an activity in your mind. It's like, oh, I scheduled it in. And if you do it with somebody else, that means you're not going to avoid it.
Yeah.
So, like,
Accountability.
go to the class. Yeah,
Hell yeah. I want to touch on a couple of things
sure,
there
sure.
because I do agree with you on the whole focus thing. I think in one of the slides that I made, I call it the modern day pandemic is no one can focus, you know? And you can look at it in a good way because, or you can look at it in a bad way, like shit, we're all doing it. In a good way is like, oh, all the people I'm quote unquote competing with, let's just say, like, no, you know, it's like no one can do it. So if I do it, I'm literally just going to excel better than people. Something I want to ask because, um, I think most people, or most people in the entrepreneur space, I feel like a lot of advice is very short term, like this hustle bustle culture. Exactly what you said, just taking all these um, substances and such to just kind of, execute on things and do the day-to-day things. When did you come to the realization of like, okay, like, damn, like, I need to focus on this part of my life as well, not just the material part, not just like the hustle part, but also making sure that I'm good mentally, like the breath work side, the meditation side of things. When did you come into the realizations of that? And what are some other things that you do as well on top of that to make sure that, you are more present and grounded?
So a couple things, and this is gonna be very. A lot of people don't talk about this. So, number one, just having mystical experiences from the meditations made me realize how important it is. But you forget them after they happen. It's like a week later, okay, I'm back into the familiar of whatever. Uh, Secondly, you experience synchronicities that are too damn synchronistic,
I
and you
felt
tuned
this.
into it.
I felt this. I've been feeling this a lot lately.
Yep.
I actually want to ask you about synchronicity in a bit, but I'm gonna let you finish because that's so cool that you mentioned that. I want to talk about that in a bit too.
You experience more synchronicities in your life, and especially if you've been meditating and tuning in to specific, say it's you want to tune into more abundance or tune into more love or tune into more experiences of freedom, then you will experience synchronicities that align with that experience. So you're drawing the what you're tuning into to you in the present moment. So I had this happen because we went to a workshop in November 2020 for meditation, and then we went. It was so good. Me and my sales team leader, one of the three, were just like, all right, let's go do another one. We went to another workshop. So 14 days of just straight meditation knowledge and doing breath work and doing that. And then in December, we have our 1.2 million month, up from 500K.
Wow.
Right. Now, you could argue market was up, Black Friday deal. We had a new offer. You could argue all those points, but like all of the variables could be right, but you could be off and it still mess up.
Mm.
Versus, and it goes the same way. All the variables could technically be wrong, but because your energy is on point, for some reason, out of a fluke, it's just like a lottery ticket. You won.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, but in a sales environment, as it applies to, especially for entrepreneurs that are listening to this, you're running a sales team, you're running an organization. The more coherent you are, the more present you are with people, the more you can tune in, and you're not like looking around at your screen whenever you're on a Zoom call with somebody, and your heart's like palpitating, and you're like, all right, yeah, that's good, or like, why did you fucking do that, man? And you're getting irritated at people, and you're sending
Mm-hmm.
like Slack messages, or you have a thought throughout the day like, I bet he's not going to do exactly what he said he was going to do. I need to find a fucking replacement. Shit, man, I guess I'm not good at hiring. Like, these thoughts culminate, and it prevents you from getting the progress that you need. And if you can just wipe that slate clean, and you could just be present with it, trickles down the organization. So that is the next one. And well, it is the most profound. And I've talked about this before, and it's what gets people interested in meditation.
Right.
Because it's like a real life example of I changed the way that my consistent thoughts were, like things I was consistently thinking. And so we were able to generate new ideas in the spur of the moment. And because I was in this enhanced state of being, like instead of going from standard fighter to I went to Super Saiyan 3.
Mm-hmm.
And your powers expand, plus the Kaioken times 10. So if you're familiar with Dragon Ball Z, that's just,
I
your
don't know
fighting
what the
abilities
I don't know.
are
I have no clue
significant.
what you said because I
No,
don't watch
okay.
Dragon Balls. I know
Okay.
I apologize to the listeners for that because I know some of you guys are disappointed right now because I said that. But for sure,
it's not
man.
good. But your power levels increase, man.
100%,
So
100%. I've noticed that with myself as well. Recently, at least once I finished my travels and came back, adopting things into my day-to-day life that bring on like positive thoughts and just more positive thoughts and almost like not suppressed, but where I'm more aware of the negative as well. And I'm aware that, oh, it's just thoughts, So like like even going, like you said, going to the gym, I started doing way more breath work, meditation as well. Even in the sauna, I do a lot of meditation in the sauna.
that's
And
awesome.
even, yeah, at the gym, what I do is I don't even listen to music. Even if it's a book I've listened to hundreds of times, I have like certain books that I just always listen to because them just speaking about certain topics, I realize just like makes it so throughout the day I am thinking about those things as well, right? Versus
Yeah.
like, man, I'm listening. I realize some of these podcasts I'm listening to, all they do is complain, and even if it's comedy, they're complaining, and in a way like that's I'm seeing me doing the same thing. But versus like I'm listening, one of my favorite books to listen to at the gym is The Magic of Thinking Big, and all the chapters are about like having the right attitude, how to come back from failures, be good leader. And I'm noticing that, oh, like when I'm listening to these things, like throughout the day, like my energy is higher because these are the types of thoughts I'm having even when I'm not listening, you know? So I'm huge on just like raising your frequency and raising your energy. And even earlier in 2021, man, just listening to Joe Dispenza really helped me get out of like a dark place. You know, just being aware of certain things. To touch on that, I guess just ask you as well, even from my personal self, what are some other things that you do to always make sure that, you know, like your energy throughout the day is just on the higher frequency? And also, I'm pretty sure you still have those moments when you have those times where, you know, negative thoughts may come through and you might go into a little rabbit hole, maybe not, right? And how do you deal with times like that when it feels like shit, I can't even control like my thoughts, you know, and how I'm feeling overwhelmed?
Yeah, you know, it's cool you brought that up. I was listening to a video that you know, Eman Gadsby put out about, you know, his depression period, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, even though he had some business success and he tried to meditate it away, he still kept feeling
Yeah.
terrible day in and day out. Um, First thing I'll say is like, and I'll say another thing that he said, you know, alcohol, weed, and then just getting 9 hours of sleep, 8 hours of sleep, or just really good quality sleep, investing in your sleep. I mean, that'll solve a lot of your challenges.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say the fourth thing I'd add to that is doing more walks and
Interesting.
walking in
Interesting.
nature. Yes,
Interesting.
connecting with nature as much as you can. You will find, especially whenever you're not feeling right, because you're slowing your body down in a sense. You're getting your eyes are actually moving. Andrew Huberman talked about this on a podcast that when your eyes, how they move, can actually change your state of being. So
Interesting.
this is important for like monitor placement. If you're just looking down all the time, you're going to feel a certain way. But if you like look
Mm.
left and right and you're always looking, and there's certain hypnosis tricks that people do where they move your eyes around and it allows you to get into a more uh, it relieves anxiety, right? That's one of the things that it can do for you. But maybe restate your question because like on the days that I don't feel, on the days that I feel like I've fallen from grace, right? Which that is usually a sign I need to get realigned with my purpose. Okay, and or invest in getting on a call with somebody who could maybe remind me of what my purpose is.
Mm-hmm.
So if I want to overcome the monkey mind, the breath and do the meditation, like you need a fallback protocol. I actually built this
Interesting.
before whenever I had really bad anxiety. I had to have a fallback protocol for whenever I fell from grace.
Mm-hmm.
So
Wow, this is
when the
so cool,
mission
bro. I have to
is
write
a
that
bust,
down.
yeah, you need it. You need like you need it somewhere. You need like a on a piece of paper, which is fallback protocol. But I think the what was it, an AA or some of these addiction communities that are like the first step towards healing is admitting that you have a problem or admitting
Right.
that that you have. So you gotta humble yourself and pick it up and be like, okay, that's what I gotta go do, and then get
Right.
down on it. Yeah,
I like the protocol approach. I never thought about that. Just having something that you kind of, you know, go on when you're feeling a certain way. That's a pretty really implementing systems into your own personal life. I like that. I love that actually.
yeah. It can be
Yeah.
more difficult, like if you're broke and it's pretty apparent that you have no money and that nobody is willing to pay you money. Okay, being broke and having no money and then having a ton of people that want to pay you money, that's a different situation. You know, there's
Right.
entrepreneurs that will go broke, they'll have zero in their bank account. I've been this, but you still have a bunch of case study and
Yeah.
skills, and you could call up five people right now and they would give you a high paying six-figure job.
Hmm.
Like, but a lot of people are not in that position. So
Right.
you have to like build up to that point. And then I think as an entrepreneur too, when you get to a certain level, it's just about reminding yourself of your greatness, but also at the same time, when you remind yourself of all the great things that you did, sometimes what comes up in the past is all the stuff that you fucked up on. And so it's like a
Yeah.
balancing act. So I would argue remind yourself of your greatness and then simultaneously create like connect again with the vision of your future, which is
Hmm.
when I do walking meditations, that's what it's all about is connecting with that vision of the future and then walking as if it actually happened.
Right.
So, and I maybe I'd make focus on a specific event. like me and my family going out to Switzerland on an amazing ski trip, and everybody is excited and having a great time, and we're just enjoying it. And then maybe it's another situation. It's me and a lovely young lady. We're on a private beach, and we're just doing XYZ. And what's cool is I've had these experiences before, and they feel really good. So I just tap back into them, and then I just
Yeah.
accelerate it to another level. Like maybe I flew in there on a private jet, and it was just so effortless. And then maybe I just got a notification that we fed 10,000 people today at this food show, at this food drive, or that we healed 10 people today of cancerous diseases through some of the work that we do in the meditation and the healing stuff. So just connecting with those thoughts, with those events, can really get you out of your funk. So it's like walking in combination with that. And then sometimes walking while listening to somebody who's talking about a vision of a greater future helps as well. Because
Interesting.
maybe you don't have an idea of what the fuck your future wants to look like, but this guy on the other end, maybe via audiobook or via motivational video, as cheesy as it sounds, connecting just with that can pull you out of that funk.
Mm-hmm.
So just,
Yeah.
dropping some useful stuff there for you.
For sure. I think I learned some that from a couple of my friends and also Joe Dispenza, the whole the meditation, just feeling, like noticing how you would feel when you have, I guess, tapping into when you've achieved something, like let's say it was like whatever goal like that you said, like the private beach example. And I've noticed like even
Yeah.
in the past when I'm feeling down, I try to make scenarios like I'm feeling the way I feel, knowing that I discovered something that will lead me towards like I just I have this. What was it? It was what I used to do was I'm like, all right now I'm gonna feel as if I just figured out something that's gonna lead me towards being the best version of myself. I'm not explaining it properly, but like it's something like that where I'm like shit, like everything's about to be good, and I just see my energy just increase. I just feel so much more better, and even
Yeah.
tapping into different times when I had those moments where I'm like I feel the growth coming, and I'm fulfilled, and I had this momentum, and I've always noticed that always helped me make me feel better, and just kind of um you know I don't know, attract those situations. That's what a lot of my friends say. What would be your perspective on that, like for doing these type of exercises and meditations?
Yeah, if you're new to it, you definitely need to go to a class or a community, like a workshop, because especially if you're new to all this, your highest state of being, if you're listening to this right now on a walk, maybe you're in your highest state of being right now. You got to schedule it in and take action on that. Don't wait until you forget about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's they love to have the action. All right, it's not just to sit and be a monk, because
Right.
the thing about monk mode is when you do monk mode, you have all this energy
Mm-hmm.
reservoir, great, but now I got to do something with it.
Right.
And so, how do you be, the gray or Gandalf, right? Gandalf, the white.
Mm-hmm.
How do you step into your power fully and working with the people who have done it, who have worked through these modalities, who have done the 500 hours of breathwork sessions that can
Mm-hmm.
guide you through it, that know exactly what you're going through.
Right.
Very, very useful. And if you're curious where to find these people, there's cool Facebook groups, there's YouTube channels, and the gurus that talk about it on the YouTube channels probably know what they talk about. I
Mm-hmm.
know a couple people. You guys can hit me up about them. And yeah,
Yeah.
those
On your
I mean,
link tree,
like, this is
I
the
saw
real
a
shit.
flow activation course. Is that yours, or is that some breathwork thing that you recommend? I remember I was just doing some browsing around your profile and saw that. I want to talk about that.
Yeah, it's a group out of California. It's ran
Oh.
by this guy, Francisco, and he runs a mortgage company, uh, pretty decent sized mortgage company. On top of that, though, he is helping activate entrepreneurs to realize the most conscious version of themselves from a merchant perspective. So conscious
Interesting.
business, like just full activation. And one of the ways he does that is through having these facilitations where breath work is involved. And so there's a book, a good one. I got it behind me. It's called The Gene Keys. Okay. And so there's contemplation, meditation, and what was the other one? Well, there's contemplation, there's meditation. Okay, there's a third one, I forgot about it. But that book when you read a book, whenever you are listening to a podcast, you're listening to us right now, you're actually contemplating on what we're talking about. And so
Mm-hmm.
you're becoming aware of these concepts. And by bringing your awareness to it, where your focus goes, your energy flows. So it's like no information is technically new. It all exists, you
Mm-hmm.
know, in God or in the unified field or whatever you want to classify the reservoir of information of where, it's coming in from. So I'm just tuning into new information right now. I'm dishing out through this medium, and then you're tuning into it, the listener, and you're becoming aware of it, and you're contemplating on the information that I'm giving you. And so it's actually a very important spiritual practice because
Right.
meditation, you're really just sitting there and listening. You're
Mm-hmm.
listening and you're trying to not contemplate on thoughts. And by the way, you still can use contemplation in meditation. That's where tuning into something comes into play. So it's like when you meditate, especially with Dispenza stuff, say you want to contemplate on abundance and what that would feel like. All right. First, you got to clear everything out. You got to get the leaf blower and go and just clear all of the debris out of the way of all the thoughts. And you can, do a nice breath where you squeeze your muscles and you slowly inhale and then you hold it at the top and then you do that for 10 straight minutes and it changes your brain chemistry. You can do that and then you just go into nothing, okay, into the blackness. And then maybe 30 minutes into the meditation, you start tuning into abundance. When you're in that brainwave state, is it possible that abundance could be very much more like it could be very uh, visual and real and even more possibly real than the experience you're experiencing right now? Because right now I have five senses that are active right now. But
Mm-hmm.
if I calm my body down and I'm just like I just focus on thought alone and I become thought alone, is it possible that this abundance, this word and the meaning behind it and the emotion behind it, that it could overwhelm my body so much that I could just feel as if an abundant moment is happening to me right now,
Mm-hmm.
like receiving a big check
Right.
or getting the keys to a new whatever feeling that is, I could be experiencing it right now. And that's all. There's a formula to this. Actually a formula to this. And yeah, it's really cool once you start to go down the rabbit hole of it. And it is the most useful, the most succinct way to go about actualizing yourself, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And
Interesting.
it's not a religion. We just call it the work.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Um, Are there books? And I mean, I know you mentioned Joe Dispenza. People love, hearing book suggestions as well. I've learned something like this from, I think, a book, Parallel Universe of Self. Are there some other, and then you just recommended the Gene Keys. Are there some other books and
Mhm.
courses or resources that you recommend people check out for what you were just talking about?
Yeah. So, yeah, whoever's listening to this right now, if you are a content binger, like you could say that you listen to more than 2 hours worth of YouTube and podcasts in a day, then your best bet, especially if you're more of a listener than a reader, is to just get a playlist of the content that I'm talking about on top of the book, right? It
Hmm.
helps. Becoming Supernatural is the audiobook that you need to be listening to get a grip of the whole story of how Dispenza came across this information, how he got hit by a dump truck, broke all of his spine, healed it, and doing it for people. And then maybe you just need more proof. Like you understand the concepts, but you just need more proof. And so I
Hmm.
read books now that reinforce my belief.
Right.
But because like my critic is always challenging me. It's like, oh, this isn't going to work. It's not going to work for me. But there's countless testimonials out there of people talking about how meditation has changed their life and
Right.
just, tuning into a greater version of themselves. And so Dispenza has that on his YouTube channel. But there's also books about people who've had near death experiences. For example, there's a book called I don't know, just a near death experience book, and you'll be able to find some. But they're basically cool stories of people who they wouldn't be able to gain anything from it if they gave the story and they were lying. But they all pretty much had the same life experiences after they died, if they did come back. They
Interesting.
met some big being. They went down a tunnel. And they met some big being or a bunch of beings. They got to see like their entire life review, and they were able to see, wow, I probably shouldn't go. And maybe they experience love to such a great degree that when they come back, they're actually pretty depressed because, wow, it feels like a cartoon right now versus real life where I just left. Like
Hmm.
going from this right now to a cartoon, you can witness a sunset, you could experience a kiss, but it isn't the same as becoming love itself,
Hmm.
becoming the all in all, which is where you went whenever you died. But for some
Right.
reason you were sent back. So all these cool stories, it just helps because an atheist is just somebody who hasn't dove deep enough. If you have
Hmm.
conversation with people who have literally died and come back, you can get a pretty strong thesis of what life after death is for
Interesting.
you. And then when you understand what happens after death, it probably makes you a bit better, wouldn't you think, at living life? As long as you're reminded that, hey, it actually doesn't matter at the end. And despite what Hermosi says, we actually do go somewhere. We're not just into where we go somewhere. That somewhere is probably nothing,
Hmm.
but nothing is everything at the same time. So, and this has just been confirmed so much that I don't even have to argue with myself about it anymore. It's just a matter of remembering it because you can forget it
Right.
and get down on yourself and you're like, oh man, I'm down bad. And you got to remember, oh wait, I forgot about this, and that. I'm gonna be okay. And then you connect
Right.
emotionally with that. So that way your body doesn't say, no, we're going to fucking die. No, we're not. And even if we do, don't worry about it. You know what I mean? It's like
Right.
this
Right.
conversation you're having with your lower self and your higher self all the time.
I've definitely felt that, man. I've definitely felt that. And you even got me curious on actually studying some near death experiences. I was just funny. I talked to my friend yesterday, who said like he had one of those. He didn't really explain to me like how he felt. It was more like, oh, like it was like a medical thing that happened to him that could have killed him, and then how he started living life
Yes.
differently. But I'm gonna leave research deeper into like I guess what you said, the near death experiences. Something that we touched on earlier, or something you mentioned, synchronicity. I would love to hear,
Yes.
how you define synchronicity and your perspective on it, because I have my own thoughts on it, but I'd love to kind of hear your perspectives.
So, a synchronicity is not necessarily something you look for. You're not
Hmm.
looking for synchronicities. You are anticipating that you're going to feel a lot of synchronicities, but the specific synchronicity is not something that you're going to be able to necessarily generate. Um, so it has to happen in a way that you don't expect.
Hmm.
So you could tune into, for example, like I said, freedom. Because maybe you're stuck right now and you want to get unstuck. You want to feel this liberating freedom. And so you tune into a synchronicity that could happen in an unexpected way for more freedom to be in your life. Something could happen today, next week, depending on how long you tune into that. Randomly generated event, because the universe is randomly generating events all the time.
Hmm.
You just tune into it and it pops up. And check this out. There has been studies with monks meditating around a random generator computer, and they're able to affect the outcome of the numbers coming out of that computer. And in the work that we do at Dispenza, we would meditate on a specific color
Interesting.
in this petri dish. Apparently, there's these cells that they can either have a 50% chance of going green, 50% chance of going red. I forget what the colors are. They basically tune into one color as a meditation, right? And then the petri dish would, I mean, it for the most part, uh, more than the color that they meditated on overtook it.
Interesting.
So it affected the statistical probability, even though it was randomly generated.
Right, right, right. Uh, how do you
So,
view like? Oh, sorry. Continue. Finish your thought. Finish your thought.
oh no, it's fine. It's fine. You can continue. Um, there's just it's weird. It's serendipity. Um, you pretty much start becoming a magnet. So when you do semen retention, right, you get interesting things showing up. Or whenever you remove yourself,
Hmm.
and then you could see it as synchronicity. Like, oh man, that's crazy. But maybe we're just unveiling like the way in which the universe actually works, and we should just more so be in this mode of expecting.
Right, right. I like that. Have you ever had like coincidences in your life? Let's say it doesn't have to be like, oh, I want millions of dollars and now I'm gonna get opportunities to do that, which happens sometimes. But I'm saying like when you think of something and that shit shows up right away, you know what I'm saying? Like how do you view those events, or do you think those type of things are significant or insignificant? I'm curious on your perspective on that. You know, to give an example, randomly I was just thinking as I was coming out the gym, I'm thinking about how I'm gonna make a playlist of just hype songs and name it Alexander the Great, and then 3 streets down, as it's a red light, I'm stopping. The guy's license plate, like the cover, it says Alexander the Great Inc. And I was like, that was so interesting. I was like, what the fuck? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I'm curious. Like, I wanted to ask you, like, how you view these events, because I have my own perspective on it. But I'm curious, like, if you even find them significant, or you don't pay mind to them, or you just think they're coincident. I'm curious.
Yeah, I think they're all significant,
Hmm.
some more than others, but it's evidence, and you have to get appreciative. And the thing is, you will be appreciative automatically if it is a
Hmm.
real synchronicity. Like, whoa,
Oh, for
and
sure.
awe. That's the emotion of awe.
Yeah, for sure.
But share. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna
What
say
you
like the perspective that I have with that, and I don't like, for me, I just believe this as true, and even if it's not, it helps me in my life. But basically, whenever these things happen, I take it as a sign that everything is going the way it's supposed to, right? So I take this, I have convinced myself to believe that whenever I see these things, this is proof from the universe that things are just going the way that I want to. It's like almost a sign that I'm just in the right path, right? Just helps me with like reassurance of like reassurance of like, okay, like, I'm doing what needs to get done to get to where I am. And like also just helps me with the doubt side of things, I guess you can say, right? Because sometimes like, you know, it isn't a lot of things that we do isn't really isn't instant gratification, right? Like building out a bunch of these things, it's not like you see results tomorrow. Sometimes it takes weeks or months. Like even for me, I came back from traveling, gained a bit of weight. The first month I barely seen any progression, so it can be somewhat like, uh you can feel like down, like shit, I didn't see the results because I guess we're so used to instant gratification and seeing, doing things like this. But yeah, same with my work, anything else in life that I feel like I'm pursuing and progressing on. I just take whenever these things happen, I take that as a sign, like, oh, it's going the right way. But again, it might not even be true, but I've convinced myself for it to be true because me just thinking this way helps me. You know what I'm saying?
well, you're not delusional.
Mm-hmm.
You're doing the right. That's the formula.
Right.
Um,
Facts.
there was my ex girlfriend, her aunt was diagnosed with cancer, and she
Mm-hmm.
didn't even do meditations. She just literally did not accept her fate. She looked at the mirror. She's like, "I'm
Damn.
not going to live the next 2 months of my life that the doctor gave me as my expiration date, feeling as if I'm going to die. Screw that." And she told all of her family members, "Hey, do not say anything about my condition. And if you do, I don't want to talk about it. I want to hear it. Nope, doesn't
Mm.
exist." She emotionally rejected it, and she was inspired, right? In that moment, she looked at the mirror. She was inspired with the vision of the future, which was her surviving, her just living life to
Mm-hmm.
her best. And she woke up every single day just in that feeling, right? And what's cool is she probably had a corresponding thought that was like, well, if I die, it's probably not going to matter anyways. And maybe she just accepted that alongside with just also accepting that she could live through it. And it's in that acceptance that she was like, hey, everything's going to fucking work out. It's going to work out anyways. What am I
Right.
worried about?
Right.
And some cultures, death is not even like something that you dress up in black and be more,
Facts.
mournful about. There's, I don't know if it's in Brazil or some part of South America, but they do celebration. They say,
Yeah,
oh,
facts.
he's with eagles right now. He's flying with eagles right now. We're celebrating his life. It was an
Hell
amazing
yeah.
man,
That's
and
the
it's a
perspective
very
I have,
empowered.
man. When I die. When I die, that's the perspective I have. Like, yo, don't be sad I went away. Just celebrate it. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Hell yeah, hell yeah. That's very cool to hear, man. I feel like I've heard like a couple of stories like that as well. People using their belief and their thoughts, and not letting limits, they're not letting other people place limits on themselves and not placing limits on themselves and them breaking through. I don't know if it was in Joe Dispenza's book or someone, they were talking about someone's kid was born with a certain disease, but his father just didn't accept it. All the doctors told him, okay, yeah, he's going to live with this, but he was persistent for years and years and years. And I think they were able to come up with a solution, or, things worked out for them in the long run. And that's always cool to me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's always like a reminder to me to, like, just, man, for me, one thing I've learned, and this is mainly from psychedelics. I haven't shared this as much, experimenting with it. And if you want to touch on that, we can talk about it. I don't know, if you feel comfortable or not, but I'll share with you my quick, I guess, point on this. With one of my experiences, I realized that exactly what you said, almost right. Like, life is all perspectives, and also when you say, like, people's greatness, I also like realize, like, people don't realize their greatness until they realize the power that they have, and their power is the choice, the choice that they have. And choice goes down so deep into not just like what I do, like, oh, I chose to pick this up, but it's like how I think about certain things. So, like, even with her, like, she had all the reasons to feel down and feel sad and feel negative, but instead she chose the perspective of something that benefits her rather than hurts her. And this is one of the huge lessons I've learned in my life that's made me always feel better. Like, for example, I remember I was in Miami, and then my laptop got water damaged, right? And I'm like, I have all the reasons to like be mad right now. I lost my fucking laptop. I'm in a city I don't even live in. I work online, so I'm losing all my work. But what how does that help me anyway? Like, feeling down, it affects my work. Now my life experience is shitty because I'm just stressing and I'm just, putting myself down, versus, new perspective. All right. Even if it's delusional, even if I'm forcing it, the new perspective is, hey, I get a new laptop. I get a brand new laptop. Actually, you know what? Happened again last month. That laptop got water damage too, and I got a new one. And it was like, I just adopted. It was hard, and it's hard. But sometimes I'm like, shit. Even if I have to be delusional, I will rather choose a perspective that benefits me than hurts me. Because what are the benefits of just adopting and choosing a perspective, um, that will bring negatives into your life, right? So,
Yep.
man, that's why I fucking love psychedelics, because I don't even know how I would think of these type of things. Um, and yeah, it was just kind of cool to hear too the
Yeah.
story.
It forces you out of the normal conditioned thinking into a different
Oh,
thinking pattern.
facts,
Can be very useful, for breaking you out of um, a funk. And I think it's
100%.
even I think it's though more useful for you because you're aware of, like what an iron mind is.
Mm-hmm.
Take you know the models in which to think, and
Right.
so that way you can have certainty about it. You know how you should be thinking
Yo,
conceptually.
that's a good point. That's a very good point. That's exactly how I felt. It was all these books I was reading, like Stoicism. My favorite book of all time is The Art of Living by Epictetus. In this experience that I had, it wasn't like, it was exactly what you said. It felt like as if Epictetus taught this to me, and then like these concept like became, I internalized them, right? And I've learned as well, like, there's a difference between learning something and internalizing it, right? Like, someone can tell you, hey, yo, don't chase girls, that's not the way to do it. But I feel like until you do it and then you experience that, you don't really internalize it, maybe, like, or certain lessons where you kind of have to go through to not just understand it, but like internalize it. So interesting that you mentioned that, because I felt exactly what you said, is like, just these concepts become certainty, that these things that you've been thinking, like, the dots connect finally. There's no more like doubt on certain things that you're thinking.
Yep. Yep. It solidifies it. I want to stress that for everybody who's considering psychedelics, it's so useful to go on like a content binge or a like go to a workshop, learn to meditate, learn to do breath work before if you've never done psychedelics before you ever do it. You'll just
Hmm.
get more benefit out of it.
I
And you'll be
agree.
able to manage your trip a lot better as well. When say you do have your peaks and valleys, you'll
For
know how to
sure.
regulate your breath. You'll know how to still your mind, even underneath the influence of that. Because I took ayahuasca in 2017 and there
No
was a
way.
massive change. Yeah, yeah. It was in August of 2017. And then, I
Wow.
mean, series of events happened. I was out of Oklahoma, my Oklahoman dorm room, okay, screwing around, doing whatever, in Ty Lopez's mansion, teaching about chatbots from August to like February or January, February. So it's weird how stuff like that happens. And the ayahuasca,
Bro,
what it
for
did for me,
real.
guys,
Please
forgiveness.
share.
It just helped me process forgiveness for my mom and dad.
Hmm.
And so you feel a lot lighter. When you feel a lot lighter, when energy is liberated, you have the energy now to create because your thoughts are no longer going to the same places that they were. You were able to create more coherent projects
Right.
instead of, yeah, stuff
Facts,
that
man.
fails.
Yeah, I've never done ayahuasca. Definitely something I would love to do in the future, not anytime soon. But taking mushrooms, I've had some amazing, like I said, I think something you mentioned earlier, you plug out, and I felt that. I remember I was crying after because I'm like, shit, I'll never live life the same again. Like I felt like I had, and it wasn't discovered, like you said, it was just like strengthening my beliefs in these, thinking models and concepts. And I remember like, damn, like I will
Mm-hmm.
never live life the same because like, man, you know, the way I look at things, my perspective towards things just change. And every time I've done them ever since, and I love them so much, I don't do them too often. I do microdose though, but what I've noticed has always been like a mental detox, and I get very clear on certain things, and it's always been like a change towards the right direction in my life. Again, I don't want to, this is not like advice per se. This is just me sharing my experience. Do your own research. Even when I first discovered this, I did a bunch of my research in months before I, even tried anything. But man, I'll tell you, I did mushrooms before before I had was ever drinking alcohol or even had touched weed, like years and years before, and I would definitely credit the way I think, where I am, and certain perspectives that I have in my life that, really make it where I have a better life experience to that. And yeah, it's dope, man. Ayahuasca,
I
was
remember
it
you
like a
telling me
retreat?
about that.
Yeah, we talked about this at Jason's event. I remember, man. And I think then I had done it twice or three times. And it wasn't even, man, this one event, it was so profound that, I have this thing that I've built up. I call it a visionary playbook, which is just kind of taking some inspo from Sam Oven's Alchemy of Self and just kind of changing it to, how I like it. And in there, I have a literally October 25th, that day written as born again as a new self, because it was that profound for me. But definitely would love to do like a retreat. Is that what you did? Like go to somewhere in South America and did a retreat?
I just went to Texas and there was a retreat center there.
That's a
I just drove 6 hours down. Yep. Yep.
oh
Got my
my
boot on, got my cowboy hat,
yo,
went down, had some ayahuasca. Yep, sir. Yes, sir.
man.
With the
Yeah.
fake shaman. He's a good guy though, but it's not a real shaman. All
Right,
right.
right.
Either real or you're fake. All right. It's not but we still had
He did he
good
did the job,
ayahuasca.
man. Yeah, A to B. He got you from A to
It did
B.
it.
You know what I'm saying? That's still
You know,
jokes. Yeah.
good
Um
music, good vomiting, good time.
hell yeah, hell yeah. One last thing I would share, just to touch on what you said as well, man. And same thing. October, I think our business has done 15,000 in revenue that month. November 56, December 72, you know? And it was cause of I definitely credit it to that experience because my whole one of the main things I got out of I had gotten so many things like, bro, it was like I gained like 5 years worth of knowledge in one day, but I've already shared so many of them, but one of them was as well was, living life as the best version of myself every day, because realizing that it's a choice, like when I wake up, I choose if I live life as the best version of myself, because I'm in control of myself. And shit, man, just thinking that way and living life like that every day. And even having, just just being more grateful for my current situation. Because again, you know what, in that trip, I had a period of time where I looked at my perspective towards my life was that my life sucks, oh, I'm gonna wake up again tomorrow, live this, it's gonna be mundane. My business is failing, blah blah blah, this that, my relationship, all this, right? But then I remember something switched, and it was actually what you talked about, bro. Like or what you said earlier, like just love. It sounds weird, but just thinking about the concept of love and unconditional love, like and in thinking people in my life that show me true love without attachments, right? That got me out of that funk. And I started looking at my life and like, oh shit, I'm 20 years old. I'm in fucking Miami. I don't really have to go to school again. I don't have to work a job. I come from a village in Nepal. I'm like, oh shit, it's like, again, perspective. Same span of 30 minutes. I'm looking at my life like my life sucks. And now I'm looking at my life like I'm the luckiest guy alive. Like, what the fuck?
Turn your pain into power.
Yeah, man. And I'm glad we got to touch on this because I haven't shared it as much, but that was very profound. And for me, like, those lessons on perspective, choices, and all that, they definitely help. I know, man, even when we connected, you said you wanted to talk about breath work. You've already touched on breath work here as well. I got not introduced. Yeah, actually, my introduction to breath work was through my friend who showed me the Wim Hof method. And I've been showing my friends that as well. And they literally tell me this is a life hack. So I know, other than presence and being more conscious as an entrepreneur, like what are some other benefits that you have noticed with breath work, and what kind of breath work you actually do? And on top of that as well, after, you can talk about, because I feel like you are someone that focuses on self-development, growth. What are some other things that you've done along with breath work? I know you mentioned meditation, other things that have definitely helped you progress towards the better version of you. But yeah, but let's just start with the breath work, man. How's that been? How has that experience been for you ever since you discovered it and been doing it consistently?
Yep, been pretty useful. There's this necklace that I wear, and I exhale slowly for 10 seconds through this little tube, and
Interesting.
it's called a kamuso. It's based off of these Japanese monks that would meditate by exhaling through these flutes. And so the act of exhaling for 10 seconds and just slowly inhaling through the nose, it's calmed your body down. It's especially useful when I'm on calls and I need to
Hmm.
calm my nervous system down a bit because you can experience some Zoom fatigue. Or I'm in public transport and it's just very high frequency. Very When I say high frequency, I mean like ding 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 ding. Just very mechanical. I feel like I'm cattle, right? I just want to be present and in the moment. So slowly exhaling all the way from the lower belly and just like pushing all that out. Incredibly useful. Also in sex too. Like whenever you can get your breath synchronized with, you can play with it for a bit, like synchronize with your partner your breath, or just breathing, uh, and maybe not even like penetrating yet, but just like sitting down and like holding each other and then breathing with each other. That creates a better experience. I mean, for anybody that's interested in that and you have a partner, you go learn about tantra, and just some simple stuff from that can enhance your sex life. But I'm even more so moving in after learning what I'm learning about energy. I'm considering celibacy, taking a
Interesting.
approach to sex where, like, that doesn't mean I'm not having sex. It just means that I'm not ejaculating, which that's not technically celibacy, but it's like when I get with when I
Right.
get with a partner, and also just seeing the people that I do choose to be with, like reconsidering that big time because of the energetic implications,
Right.
and just exercising more control over that side of myself
Wow.
and
Respectful, man.
letting the divine flourish, letting the life force flourish. Because I have yet to have a moment in my life where I've gone more than a month without ejaculating, and I want to see what that looks like.
But you
So I want to
haven't.
see. No, I haven't. Other than like the first time that I masturbated, like 12 years old, right? Or whatever year it was, 12, 11.
Hmm.
And so I just learned so much about life force energy cultivation. It's either me or it's a chick, and it's been like that for, I'm 24, for over a decade.
Wow.
So what would happen if I just let that sit there? Especially what I know now about energy and I'm in healing groups where we are healing people from a remote setting. And you can heal people like when they're right next to you too. But from a remote setting, it's a little bit different. And basically, if I meditate and the person that's getting into healing meditates at the same time, there is like this connection that happens,
Hmm.
and they're able to achieve some healing benefits from that. But check it
Interesting.
out. Even if I don't reach them, just them having the thought that somebody is making the effort to heal them and that it might work, then that belief, even if it's placebo, will work. And so we do this. Like I do this almost every single day. There's a Telegram group I'm in with all these amazing people from the Joe Dispenza community where we do this remote coherence healing. And it's just a reminder, like show up and then give life to life, and then watch your own life and your energy. Where are you spending that?
Right,
Are you
man.
putting people down? Are you just being a demonic entity? Are you making use of it uh, to wake people up and to heal hearts,
Hell yeah,
to
man.
achieve wholeness?
You mentioned some amazing things there, bro. And one of my friends, I'm not gonna, air him out in his business, but he's made me aware of exactly that. A couple of things there. One on the whole celibacy and sex thing, because we've had this conversation as well where he has a girlfriend and he is talking about like achieving orgasm and basically like yeah, achieving orgasm through energy without necessarily ejaculating and just
Yes.
feeling, I guess, that connection. He explained it in a better way, but I know exactly what you're talking about, man. When you're saying you're not gonna ejaculate, but still, my friend had talked to me about this, and it didn't make sense to me then. But once he explained it to me, I'm like, okay, it does make sense. It does make sense. And on the second part, man, I've done that before. It was the same friend. I think he would do these live energy sessions with his mentor, and he would tell me, he's like, you don't need to listen to anything. She just said, just lay down in your breath. And I forgot what he told me, but he said, just say that, oh, I'm accepting thing from whatever the lady's name was, something like that. And I just laid down for 30 minutes. Bro, it was so funny. It was exactly what you said, just knowing that someone is technically working on me. And she would host these calls and she would, say these things and then he'll heal people. And I've done stuff like that. And I have noticed a difference in how I feel. So it's just cool. And even just getting on this podcast today for me was almost like a reassurance to focus on this more, because in the day-to-day life and like the hustle bustle culture sometimes that I get engaged in, it's easy to forget about this. But man, I don't know, you made it a point for me to be extra aware and just make sure I'm involving this in my routine and being very aware of it and just kind of being more consistent with it. So I appreciate you for this, man. But yeah, man, we talked about a lot of things today, man, and I know, we could talk about business and a lot of things, but I'm glad we talked about this, and well, what's good is that we can save all the business talk and anything else that we have to talk about for when I come in person. I told Hayden I'm gonna come to Puerto Rico whenever they're there. And what's crazy is the three people you knew in Puerto Rico. They're all really good friends of mine, so I've always wanted to visit them as well. So hopefully we get to see each other in person and make an
Oh man,
in-person
that'd be
video as
great.
well. That would be so awesome. But before we end this, man, is there any additional thoughts or anything else you want to say? I'm gonna make sure to put your socials below and all. But anything else regarding anything else other than that?
Yeah. So there's this quote. I think Mosey said it, or Mosey. After you've solved all the problems that money can solve, you're left with problems that money can't solve. So I thought, well, hey, that's going to be most of my life because I'm going to solve my money problems pretty like in my 20s. Why don't I get a head start on the problems that money can solve?
Mm,
And that takes something else to solve. So think about that.
I like that. I like
Put
that. I like
that,
that
put
head
that,
start part.
spread that on your toast and take a bite out of that.
I like that. I
Sure,
like
everybody's
that.
listening.
I don't need bread, but let's get it. I'll plan it. I'll
We're
plan it.
carnivore over here. All right. Just liver
Keto.
king.
Yo,
Yeah.
put that
King
on you.
keto.
Spread that
Shout
liver,
out to
man.
him.
Shout out King Keto the GOAT, man. Shout out King Keto the GOAT. But for
Sure.
everybody listening, thank you so much. Follow Blake on his socials down below. Appreciate you guys for listening. I hope you guys really enjoyed this one because man, I enjoyed this. I enjoyed this one, just asking you questions, getting your perspectives on things. And I'm glad that we got to catch up after a good while. But guys, thank you again for listening to this episode of Keeping It Real. I'll catch you on the next one. Bye-bye.